Donald Trump's re-election in 2024 signaled a renewed focus on reshaping America's immigration landscape. From the outset of his second term, President Trump has made immigration reform a cornerstone of his agenda, fulfilling campaign promises to his base. His administration wasted no time in implementing sweeping changes, sparking both praise and condemnation across the nation. The first weeks of February 2025 have been marked by a flurry of executive orders and policy shifts aimed at reducing both legal and illegal immigration. These actions reflect a hardline stance, prioritizing enforcement and border security above all else. The president's supporters applaud his decisive action, while critics decry the measures as inhumane and economically detrimental. The nation now watches with bated breath as the president's immigration agenda unfolds, uncertain of its ultimate impact on the fabric of American society. The coming months and years will reveal whether these bold moves will achieve their intended goals or lead to unintended consequences for the nation as a whole. One thing is certain, the immigration debate in America is far from over. The Trump administration has wasted no time in ramping up immigration enforcement, signaling a new era of aggressive deportations. Drawing parallels to President Eisenhower's Operation Wetback in 1954, the current administration has set a daily arrest quota of 1,200 undocumented immigrants, a number that has sent shockwaves through immigrant communities across the country. Since the president's inauguration in early February 2025, over 11,000 individuals have been detained, a stark reminder of the administration's commitment to swift and decisive action. The Department of Homeland Security, tasked with carrying out these deportations, has faced criticism for its tactics, with accusations of racial profiling and disregard for due process. The agency maintains that it is simply upholding the law and prioritizing the removal of individuals deemed a threat to national security or public safety. However, the human cost of these policies is undeniable. Families are being torn apart, with parents separated from their children and breadwinners deported, leaving their loved ones in precarious financial situations. The crackdown has instilled fear and uncertainty in immigrant communities, forcing many to live in the shadows, afraid to even leave their homes for fear of apprehension. The effectiveness of mass deportations as a long-term solution to illegal immigration remains a subject of debate. Critics argue that it is a costly and inhumane approach that fails to address the root causes of migration. They point to the need for comprehensive immigration reform that provides a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants already living and working in the United States. Whether the administration will consider such measures remains to be seen. The economic repercussions of President Trump's immigration crackdown are already being felt across various sectors of the U.S. economy. The removal of millions of undocumented workers, who constitute an estimated 4 to 5% of the national workforce, is poised to have a significant impact on industries that rely heavily on their labor. Goldman Sachs predicts a potential GDP decline of 30 to 40 basis points in 2025, a stark figure that underscores the potential for widespread economic disruption. One of the most immediate concerns is the strain on Social Security and Medicare. Undocumented workers, despite their legal status, contribute billions of dollars to these programs annually. In 2022 alone, their contributions amounted to $25.7 billion for Social Security and $6.4 billion for Medicare. These funds are essential to maintaining the solvency of these programs, which are already facing a projected shortfall. The mass deportation of these workers could exacerbate the funding crisis, potentially leading to benefit cuts for millions of Americans who rely on these programs. The agricultural sector, heavily dependent on immigrant labor, is bracing for a severe blow. Farmers across the country are already struggling to find workers to harvest their crops, leading to fears of food shortages and price increases. The construction industry, another sector reliant on undocumented workers, is also facing labor shortages, potentially leading to project delays and increased costs for consumers. The long-term economic consequences of these policies remain uncertain, but experts warn of the potential for slower economic growth, higher inflation, and increased labor costs. As businesses struggle to fill vacant positions, they may be forced to raise wages, which could lead to higher prices for goods and services, further fueling inflation. The healthcare industry, already grappling with numerous challenges, is poised to be hit particularly hard by the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. With an estimated 350,000 undocumented workers employed in the healthcare sector, their removal could cripple hospitals, nursing homes, and other healthcare facilities already facing staffing shortages. These workers often fill essential roles, such as certified nursing assistants, home health aides, and medical assistants. Their absence would place an unbearable burden on an already strained workforce, potentially compromising the quality of care for patients. The loss of these workers could also lead to longer wait times for appointments and procedures, further exacerbating existing disparities in access to healthcare. Rural hospitals, already facing financial strain and closure, are particularly vulnerable to the impact of these policies. Many rely on undocumented workers to fill critical positions, and their loss could be the final blow for these facilities, leaving entire communities without access to essential healthcare services. The financial implications for the healthcare industry are also significant. Hospitals and other healthcare providers may face increased labor costs as they struggle to recruit and retain qualified staff. These costs will likely be passed on to patients in the form of higher insurance premiums and out-of-pocket expenses, further burdening Americans already struggling with the high cost of healthcare. Section 5. Birthright under fire, a fundamental right challenged. In a move that has sparked widespread controversy, President Trump has set his sights on altering birthright citizenship, a fundamental right enshrined in the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. This amendment, adopted in 1868, grants citizenship to any person born within the United States, regardless of the immigration status of their parents. The president's proposal to end birthright citizenship has been met with fierce opposition from legal scholars and civil rights groups, who argue that it is unconstitutional and would create a class of stateless children. They contend that such a move would undermine the very fabric of American democracy and set a dangerous precedent. Supporters of the president's stance argue that birthright citizenship is outdated and encourages birth tourism, where pregnant women enter the United States illegally to give birth so their children can obtain citizenship. They believe that ending birthright citizenship would discourage illegal immigration and protect American jobs. The legal battle over birthright citizenship is likely to be lengthy and contentious, with potential implications for generations to come. If successful, the president's efforts to restrict birthright citizenship would represent a seismic shift in United States immigration policy with far-reaching consequences for the nation's identity and future. Section 6. A nation-divided state-level responses to immigration crackdown. The Trump administration's aggressive immigration policies have further exposed the deep divisions within the United States, with states taking starkly contrasting stances on the issue. Texas, long a battleground in the immigration debate, has emerged as a staunch supporter of the president's agenda, offering its resources to assist with the federal government's enforcement efforts. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a vocal advocate for stricter immigration controls, has pledged to provide state resources, including jail cells and National Guard troops, to aid in the detention and deportation of undocumented immigrants. Texas Land Commissioner Dawn Buckingham has even offered a 1,400-acre ranch for use as a detention facility. In stark contrast, California stands as a bastion of resistance against the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. The state has enacted a number of laws aimed at protecting the rights of undocumented immigrants, including limiting cooperation with federal immigration enforcement and providing legal assistance to those facing deportation. California's defiance has put it at odds with the federal government, setting the stage for a legal battle over states' rights and the limits of federal authority on immigration enforcement. This clash between state and federal power is likely to have significant implications for the future of immigration policy in the United States. Section 7. Public Opinion Voices from a Divided Nation. The Trump administration's immigration crackdown has ignited a firestorm of debate across the nation, with public opinion sharply divided along political lines. Polls show that a majority of Republicans support the president's hardline stance on immigration, praising his efforts to secure the border and reduce illegal immigration. However, these policies have drawn fierce opposition from Democrats and immigration advocates, who argue that they are inhumane, counterproductive, and economically damaging. They point to the human cost of family separations, the economic repercussions of labor shortages, and the potential for increased racial profiling. The debate over immigration has also exposed deep-seated anxieties about national identity and cultural change. Some Americans express concern about the impact of immigration on American culture and values, while others embrace the nation's history as a melting pot of different cultures. The media, as always, plays a crucial role in shaping public perception of this complex issue. Conservative outlets often highlight the economic burdens of illegal immigration and the dangers posed by undocumented criminals, while liberal media outlets tend to focus on the human impact of deportations and the contributions of immigrants to American society. Section 8. The Propaganda Machine: Shaping the Narrative on Immigration. The Trump administration, much like the Eisenhower administration during Operation Wetback, has demonstrated a calculated approach to using media and propaganda to shape the narrative surrounding its immigration crackdown. Recognizing the power of public perception, the administration has employed a multi-pronged strategy to garner support for its policies and discredit its critics. Social media has become a primary battleground in this information war. The president himself frequently takes to Twitter, his preferred platform, to denounce illegal immigration, demonize undocumented immigrants, and promote his administration's enforcement efforts. His tweets often contain inflammatory language and unsubstantiated claims, designed to stoke fear and resentment among his base. Conservative media outlets amplify the president's message, providing a steady stream of stories that portray immigrants as criminals, burdens on society, and threats to national security. These outlets often rely on anecdotal evidence and fear-mongering tactics to create a climate of fear and distrust towards immigrants. The administration has also sought to control the narrative by limiting access to information and discrediting credible sources. Journalists attempting to report on the realities of immigration detention centers and the human impact of deportations have faced obstacles in accessing these facilities and interviewing detainees. Section 9. A Legacy in the Making: The Long-Term Impacts of Trump's Policies. As President Trump's second term unfolds, the long-term consequences of his administration's aggressive immigration crackdown are only beginning to come into focus. The policies enacted in these early days of February 2025 will undoubtedly leave an enduring mark on the nation's demographic landscape, its economy, and its social fabric for generations to come. One of the most immediate and visible impacts will be a shift in the demographics of the United States. The mass deportation of undocumented immigrants, coupled with stricter restrictions on legal immigration, will likely lead to a decline in the foreign-born population and a slowing of population growth overall. The economic ramifications of these policies will continue to reverberate for years to come. Labor shortages in key industries could lead to higher wages, but also to increased prices for consumers, potentially fueling inflation. The loss of billions of dollars in contributions to Social Security and Medicare from deported undocumented workers could hasten the insolvency of these vital social safety net programs. Perhaps the most profound and difficult to quantify impact will be on the nation's social fabric. The fear and uncertainty instilled in immigrant communities by these policies could have lasting consequences, eroding trust in law enforcement and government institutions. The divisive rhetoric surrounding immigration could further polarize American society, making it more difficult to find common ground on this complex and emotionally charged issue. The full legacy of President Trump's immigration policies will take decades to unfold. What is certain is that the decisions made today will have a profound and lasting impact on the future of the United States.